Kush's movie review.
This week's Kush's movie review is Peter Jackson presents The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, a movie where Peter Jackson saw Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse and was like, fuck, I want to get into that fucking animated shit. That's awesome. I want to do that. And decided to make an animated version of Lord of the Rings, which is probably 6 hours long. Because fuck you, that's why. Kush, how's the movie?
So we're talking Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. By the way, they thankfully say it 75 plus times during this film. So, but I'm still not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, despite like going Rohirrim. I don't. I might be pronouncing it just Dave. Anyways, PG-13. It is 2 hours and 14 minutes long, so much shorter than 6 hours, much shorter than the Peter Jackson either edition of any of that trilogy, thankfully. Um, this is directed by a gentleman named Kenji Kamiyama, and if you, I doubt many of you in this audience know that name, but if you do, he's done a lot of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Okay, there was an entire TV series, and then it had at least 4 movies, and I don't know if that's just the DVD manufacturers just like combining 5 to 6 episodes a piece and going, it's a movie. Anyway, um, he's done all that. He's done a bunch of other anime stuff. This is my first experience with him. Very delightful. It's Lord of the Rings. So it is based on the characters of J.R.R. Tolkien, but it is by no means a J.R.R. Tolkien book. There is no book that exists with this. From what little I do know about Lord of the Rings, and I know extremely little about Lord of the Rings, I wouldn't actually even see the theatrical trilogy completely until about 2, maybe 3 years ago now to do a Kush and Kai episode. And before then, I had tried to avoid anything with this franchise. But then you see the Game of Thrones, and you're like, well, I just sat through 9 hours of this Netflix series. Sure, over 3 days, I can watch Lord of the Rings. And I did. And I was like, all right, I get it. Meh. This thing came out. It is to the best of my knowledge, is based again not necessarily on characters as well, but like uh, dorks that I know that do love J.R.R. Tolkien have told me like, hey, he published a couple other books within that universe before we were using that phrase, where it's just like poems and little short stories and things like that. And from the best that I've gathered, this is part of that. Like it was a throwaway line, and then they came up with a 2.5 hour movie. Well, I know it's shorter than 2.5 hours. Jeffrey Adis, Will Matthews, Phoebe Gittins, and RT you got to get a better name, sir. They are responsible for writing this, from what I gather, is an original story within the Lord of the Rings universe. It stars Miss Gaia Wise. She plays our feminine hero, Hera. Her antagonist, who used to be her best friend, he tried to be her lover. She turned down his royal marriage proposal. And Lucas Pasqualino, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but he plays Wolf with a U as opposed to an O. And then the great Brian Cox, who I think everybody now knows from a TV series called Succession. I have not seen an episode, but I've been watching this dude since Manhunter in the late or mid to late 80s. Brian Cox is amazing in this fucking movie, and he plays King Helm Hammerhand.
It's a great name.
Great goddamn name, and there's a great goddamn character. Uh Within the first 15 minutes, we get a little introduction. The lady who narrated the original trilogy. Oh, by the way, I've never seen the Hobbit trilogy because it's just kind of offensive in principle. That's a whole other story for another time. We're trying to keep this short. Um, we get into the whole narration from the lady from the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. And, this was 200 years before Bilbo Baggins' journey to the mountain and da 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 da. Again, we meet Hera. She's just I don't want to jump ahead, and maybe the liquor isn't helping me focus correctly. This is a better version of Disney Pixar's Brave. Daughter of a king, she's a little rebellious. She's due to get married, does not want to get married. She wants to shoot elk and go on adventures and be a
Who
warrior.
doesn't?
Well, many people actually. However, she is one of the folks that goes, "No, I want to do that shit." And dad just keeps shutting her down. And after some great adventure she just had, where we meet her, there's a whole thing where all the kings from the realms are gathering at the House of Helm. Hmm. I forget where we're. Oh, Rohan. Excuse me. I'm surprised I remember that, but there's a whole specific reason why I do remember that. It has nothing to do with the movies, however. Anyways, she has to wear a dress. She's not having a good time. And at first, they start the meeting, and then who barges in? The late arrivals, and they're like, "Ah, you started the party without me." And this is kind of the problematic tribe within the realm or the kingdom or whatever we're calling this stuff. And the son Wolf makes a formal announcement to marry Princess Hera, and she's just kind of like, "Yeah, nah." So this sets off his father, and he's like, your daughter is nothing. How dare her reject my son? She's a whore. She's a bitch, and fuck you, and fuck your mother." And Helm Hammerhand is like, "All right, I gotta fuck you up now." And all the way, his sons and his nephew and a bunch of people like, "Hey man, this ain't a good look here." And he's like, "You're right. We should not be fighting within the palace. We gotta take this shit outside." And it's
To
just
the
like,
parking lot, bitch.
they go outside to fight. My man is like taking off his crown. He's removing his cloak. Gotta take off the ring, you know. And sure enough, I'm sorry, I don't remember the character's name, so therefore I don't know who performed the voice acting. There's a lot, as you could tell, only one of these names is recognizable. Everyone else, maybe there's something in the voice animation world, voiceover world. There's no celebrities outside of Brian Cox in this movie, with the exception of an asterisk. We'll get into that later. But anyways, my man Hammerhand, eats a couple shots to the gut, one to the face, and he's like, "Okay." And then they go for round two, and he just clocks this dude one time, and they're like, the character Wolf goes, "My dad is dead." And he's like, "Oh no." Well, I definitely didn't mean that. But well, he fucked around and he found out. This is the first 15 minutes. And for a movie that I went into, again, not a fan of the Lord of the Rings thing. I get it. I thought the best thing I would say about this movie was like the animation is beautiful. We'll get a little more into that later. However, we're only 15 minutes, and I was like, this movie is dope. There's a lot of shit talking in this from Helm Hammerhand. Wolf starts making threats to the king's life, to his daughter, to his sons, and he's like, he excommunicates them. And he's like, "If you ever come in here again, I'm gonna hang you. I'm gonna kick your ass, and then I'm gonna hang you, and then I'm gonna kick your ass after that again." Like shit level talkings on the level of Beowulf. I don't know if you ever saw that Robert Zemeckis animated movie.
No.
The animation by today's standards is absolutely terrible, but the story is dope, and it's a good short story that you had to read in high school out here. But maybe you didn't do that over there in grade 10. Anyways, this sets off a whole series of I don't want to say consequences, but the cause Wolf's dad is dead, effect, all this other shit. So he is ousted from the entire kingdom or the region, or again, whatever we're calling it. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not good at fantasy stuff. But long story short, some time passes, and apparently Wolf has risen up in the ranks. He's not only taken over a whole army, but he started his own colony in this place that didn't have a colony. And man, again, it goes on and on and on and on and on from there, where there's some times where I'm like, kind of feels like we're dragging, but then it picks up right again, and you're like, oh shit, no, we're going somewhere with this. This movie is amazing. This movie is fucking dope. Obviously, it leads to a whole war, the War of Rohirrim. Um, I loved every single minute of this movie. The animation is beautiful. I'm still question. So my worst comment about this film is its actual trailer. If the trailer is 2 minutes long, 20 to 25 seconds of it is live action footage from the Peter Jackson trilogy. And
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
BS.
why are we doing that? And then discovers, oh, there's this anime movie coming out. And I tried watching the trailer when I got home on YouTube on my beautiful 4K TV. And sometimes I saw it and sometimes I didn't. But during my screening of this film at the Regal down the street, I felt there's something wrong with the projection. It was just a little choppy. It felt like we were missing some frames. If there are 24 frames per second in just a regular film, I felt like we are getting 18, maybe 16. By the way, I'm super duper oblivious to stuff like that. So if I'm seeing it, either it's intentional or it didn't happen. I would actually see someone on Facebook make the same claim, like, hey, didn't that animation seem kind of whack to you? A little choppy? Um, can't find the thread anymore, so maybe he took it down. Um, took Mama Hayes to see Fathom Events' 70th anniversary of White Christmas. You know, spend some quality time with the family. While she was off doing Mama Hayes stuff at the end of the film, I snuck in to War of the Rohirrim and literally caught the final 3 or 4 minutes. And sure enough, it's a completely different theater from where I was in that same house. Animation was still choppy, so I'm thinking maybe that was a deliberate thing. Um, Folks, please get at me in the comments. Was your animation smooth or did it feel just a little bit choppy? Anyways, this movie was fucking dope. Um, I love the entire evolution of Helm Hammerhand. When I discovered it was Brian Cox, I couldn't even recognize the voice, but he is just his chest. When he's in the voice booth, his chest is out that hard and he's emoting that hard and he's just talking that much shit. And I was just like, yes, every time Hammerhand is on the fucking screen, I am into it. Um, don't want to give any more than that here, but again, for someone who does not familiar with the Lord of the Rings, I thought the original trilogy was just okay. I did not see the extended edition. I have no intention of seeing the Hobbit trilogy, which is again still offensive. Um, I thought this movie was fucking dope. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I would also recommend if you like anime and if you like Lord of the Rings. I mean, if you like anime, absolutely see us in the theater much sooner than later because I don't think this will be here after Christmas. It's not making any money. People are kind of turned off by it. I think there's some Lord of the Rings purists. They're like, anime? What the fuck?
Well, I think
Um,
we've discovered in this episode that a lot of people out there do like anime a lot.
well, so yes, and um, posted a couple of this movie was dope in some chat groups I'm in. And again, Mike Fish, I keep all this stuff away from you until we do this review now. But one reply was I got, so how woke was it?
Ugh.
I was like, what? I mean, because the lead character is a girl? Like, I don't know. My only reply was I stayed awake through the entire thing. So that's all I could do. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know what woke is in this goddamn universe. This again, this is a better version of Disney's Brave.
Well, if you look on social media at the moment, anything that features anything other than a white man is woke.
Yeah.
A white straight man.
So for a Japanese cartoon, because this is absolutely Japanese, it's done through Warner Brothers
Sounds pretty
Animation as
woke to
well.
me, god damn it.
This is a team of Japanese people only did white people in this. There's
Woke nonsense.
a couple of orcs. There's a few monsters,
Woke
but yeah,
orcs.
it's all in Nordic white people that don't exist. So I don't know what is woke about it. I had a great goddamn time. There was one scene, only one scene, where the three chicks hug, and I went kind of like,
Oh,
oh, that actually might have been a little much. However, it shouldn't have taken away my enjoyment, nor did it. But at the same time, I'm like, that might have been kind of forced. But there's an, even if I don't approve of something, there's purpose behind it. And maybe it's not the purpose to be woke. Maybe those bitches had a bond.
well, strap
My
on.
God, my reviews are so
Oh,
wild.
really?
Anyways,
Oh,
Lord of the Rings. Going back to the casting, this has been in some of the trades, so I don't feel like this is a
all right.
spoiler.
Yeah. By the way, I think I know what asterisks you're going to mention, and I'm
Break it
very
down.
confused as to why they did this.
What do you think my asterisk is?
Christopher Lee.
Yes, you are 100% correct.
What's that about?
At the very end, they do a little epilogue, and Saruman the White. That guy's like a millennium years old by the time we get to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But at some point he gets called up to the court and he goes, "I am Saruman the White," and they spliced together Christopher Lee's voice footage with the permission of his estate, which means they're like, "We need some money, please." Because that's how that works. They didn't do it out of the kindness of their heart. They got paid for that. But they could have got anyone to do that. But it's literally that's his dialogue. I am Saruman the White. But it was his spliced voice from Christopher Lee from the three Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh,
Why
okay.
did they do that?
Okay,
I don't know.
okay. So I have not watched the original Lord of the Rings, so I didn't know Christopher Lee was already in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Ah, okay, then that makes
He's a
way more
big part
sense.
of it. He's a big
Okay.
goddamn part of it. The at least two of those three movies.
Oh, then that makes okay. Because I just thought that's a random dead guy's voice to use, but okay, if he's in the original ones, then
Yeah.
fair enough.
Also at the end, Gandalf gets brought up, but only gets brought up. But guess what? That guy is still alive, actually.
I mean, in
The
Harry
guy who
Potter,
plays
what's going
Magneto.
on?
Our voices crossed over. That's why I'm pausing here. What did you
Oh,
say?
you said Gandalf was in it, and I was like, did he bring his
No,
sorting hat from Gryffindor?
Gandalf is mentioned.
Ah,
But again, you just mentioned like they could have just mentioned Saruman too. But again, the guy who played Gandalf still alive. Didn't seem to need to bring him in. So I don't know what that's about. But that did happen. So it's not even 5 seconds long. Christopher Lee's appearance, Christopher Lee's posthumous appearance in this. But anyways, fantastic fucking movie. 5 out of 5. I would love to actually own this. Is it my favorite animated of the year? Based, debatable, to be determined. Like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I'm like Piece by Piece is my favoriteest movie of the year. Could still be. I don't know. But this movie is dope. If you like Lord of the Rings, if you like anime, go see this in theaters. Won't be here after Christmas. It's Warner Brothers, so it'll be on HBO Max sooner than later.
well, there you go. Lord of the Rings, War of Rohirrim. 5 out of 5. Check it out.
That's all, folks.
Play me off, Johnny.